And we're back. Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. It's me, Lisa, the AlkaliYogi. If you're on YouTube, welcome to YouTube. Those of you that are on my page here, if you're on the IG, welcome over here as well. And on a side note, the filter, whatever they use on the IG, looks considerably better than what's used over here on StreamYard. So, StreamYard, if anyone's paying attention, can we I'm just I'm messing around. I'm here for health reasons, right? So I don't need all of the stuff that the filters do and all the rest of that. I'm just messing about. Not that, you know, women don't want to look cute because we do. We do. We always want to be seen as, desirable. That's not why we're here, are we? We're here to learn something new today. What in the world of health is going on? And so it just so happens that today's article, once again, is coming from the Epoch Times. Side note, I just happen to live in the DMV. And since moving over here, I get every single week an Epoch Times delivered right to the home. I don't know if this was an existing subscription that belonged to the homeowners prior, neither here nor there. It's not addressed to anyone. It ends up in front of our door every week. So I pick it up and I sort of, do my thing and kind of go through it and see what looks interesting to me, specifically in the world of health, because I'm a health coach. And what I love, yeah, is that oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes I just come across great sources or articles rather, that have been written that really affirm what it is that I'm studying through the Czech Institute as a Czech Academy student, but also as a currently licensed Czech practitioner. And, you know, whenever I find something that's very much in alignment with what I'm studying, I sort of like to bring it to the forefront, because sometimes as I'm communicating to you all that are watching out there in the space, the ether space or the internet space, or however you're viewing this, maybe it's through your mind's eye. Anything is possible, after all, and I believe in that stuff. So anything that resonates with me, that I bring to you all, is just to kind of back what it is, what my studies and my time in the books and my research has already sort of solidified for me, right? And so I'm always looking for ways to support that argument, because my ally and whom I'm aligned with, um, which is really the same thing. I've just repeated myself, haven't I? My ally versus who I'm aligned with, same thing, is Mother Nature. I don't work with any particular brand. I'm not here to sell you supplements. I'm here to sell you whole food and whole nutrition, so that you don't have to go down this path of playing with and messing about with chemicals that are being sold to you as foods, but are really fake foods, and that have very real consequences, not just to you today in real time, but also to your offspring, right? One of the things that I love that Paul Chek said, I heard him recently say, and Paul Chek is the founder of the Czech Institute, so therefore he is, for all intents and purposes, also my mentor. Is that you're actually able to, for those of you that are like, well, I'm genetically predisposed to this, I've inherited this, yada yada yada. Well, it turns out that you can actually work that out of your system, out of your DNA, if you will, out of your genetics, within about 4 generations. So whatever it is that you're telling yourself, whatever the story is, or that the medical industrial complex has told you, which is, oh, you're predisposed for this. Well, for starters, that's just the gun. The ammunition is going to be your lifestyle choices, right? It's going to be whether or not you're practicing lifestyle medicine, which is essentially what I teach you, what other Czech practitioners teach you. And in addition to that, it's also just about, taking responsibility. How are you going to feed your body or feed this gun, right? Are you going to, again, fire this gun and perpetuate what you might be predisposed to, or are you going to make the lifestyle choices necessary to improve, to strengthen, fortify the quality of your genes, etc., so that what you're passing on to the next generation is something slightly better, right? And we could all be doing that, and so that should give you an idea that how we what we decide today impacts tomorrow, right? It's kind of like that butterfly effect. No matter how small the changes that you're making today, it's going to impact the world at large, whether you see it or not, whether it be through you, right, or through your offspring. So, again, really important to overstand and understand that whatever you might believe you are predisposed to genetically, you can reverse this. 4 generations is what it takes through corrective behavioral modifications, again, through whole nutrition, through remembering. So forget what you have learned and remember that which you have forgotten, because there's wisdom there. And you can, again, improve your own DNA, improve your own genes, and in essence, pass that on to create a healthier life for yourself and those that come after you. Now, that is all to say that this particular article that I came across today, yeah, I kind of have gone over this already in a previous live, but I can't harp on this enough simply because I'm currently living in the United States. And for me, aspartame is a huge, huge problem here. Huge, right? Because we really sold this idea of you don't have to give up soda. Here's a way to still consume soda, and it's not as sugary. Therefore, you're not have as much caloric intake. Therefore, it's not going to be as fattening for you. And then you can get away with it. All of which are mistruths. They're all mistruths. And I'm going to speak to you as though you're adults because you're over the age of 18 and you are adults. So rather than lying to you or spoon feeding you or trying to pacify you, rather than doing that, I'm just going to speak to you like I would want to be spoken to if I were being consulted by another health and wellness professional. And that's in very direct, blunt, and honest terms. You're not children. So when you're out and about, you have no reason to be ordering a soda. Let that ish go. You are too much of an adult, too much of an aware individual to tell yourself this story, this lie that I can still be drinking and consuming soda or soda pop, but I can get an organic version, or I can get a sugar-free version or a zero-calorie version. This is not fact. This is not truth, rather. This is a mistruth. These are foods and beverages that you should be avoiding. Anything that's fake, that has aspartame in it, is simply not good for you. And I have the proof. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in. And I have the proof for you. Now, granted, you could say, conversely, well, you could always find other studies that will disqualify, so to speak, what I'm bringing to you, which is that aspartame is more or less carcinogenic. And I've said this to you before. And it will lead to a whole host of physical and mental issues down the line. So why is it that you can find studies that support you shouldn't have soda, which is what I'm speaking to you, which is the stance that I'm to you from, right? I'm going to speak to an adult and let you know that you have no business consuming soda. Get as far away from that stuff as possible, right? Whereas there are going to be that are going to say, it's fine, you can have a soda because this one over here organic, or this one over here is sugar-free, or this one over here has calories. It doesn't matter. You're not going to change the fact that it's apparently horrible for you. What is aspartame? Do most of you even know what aspartame is and where it comes from? It doesn't come from nature. So why are you consuming it? And if you still come from nature, which you do, by the way, if you're questioning that, then you should be having a different conversation altogether. If you're questioning whether you're coming from nature, and we shouldn't even be conversing. But if you understand and understand that you are still very much coming from nature and therefore you should be supplementing life with life, I'm going to supplement life with life. And aspartame does not have life because life is not created in a laboratory. Life is created in nature, sometimes in soil, right? Other times in water, etc. But the point is, life is created in nature. So if nature didn't make it, in the words of Dr. Sebi, just don't take it, period. And again, going back to my, why would you find studies that support the opposite of what I'm saying to you? Well, you always have to look at who's funding that study. I don't have any brand here or trying to sell to you. I'm trying to sell to you only this. You are natural, and therefore you should be consuming natural foods. Point blank in the period. Full stop. So sugar, there are going to be sugars that are better for you than others, for sure. But I'm always going to be advocating things like date sugar or coconut sugar, or even a xylitol, a green stevia. Notice I said green, not white, because you want to be sourcing stevia and consuming it in its most natural form, right? These are the things that I'm going to be advocating for, because why? Because they come from Mother Nature. They didn't come from a laboratory. And aspartame comes from a laboratory, which is why this particular article, yeah, is titled "A Study Finds That Aspartame Led to Inherited Cognitive Deficiencies." Here's the kicker. You were all ready for it. Veteran. A new study finds that male mice that consume the equivalent of 2 to 4 diet sodas had offspring with memory and learning problems. So bam, there you have it. If thought or suspected that maybe we are being dumbed down, well, 1000% we are being dumbed down. Okay. And again, I can speak to you bluntly and honestly because I'm not sponsored. I'm not here trying to take business from one company and siphon it to somewhere else or influence you to purchase this product instead of another product. What I'm influencing you to do, if I even have that privilege, which I don't consider myself an influencer, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm influencing you. However, I will suggest to you, somebody who's, again, licensed and educated in this field, right, to consume things that are natural. And that sugar question is a very loaded one because not all sugars are right for everyone, right? So a date sugar may not be right for one person, but a coconut sugar might. And a stevia might be well suited for one person, but a xylitol might be better for someone else. And so we could go down that path and kind of discover what's best for you if you and I sit down and have a consultation and I get to know more about who you are as a whole person, right? Because I have to look at the entire picture. But what you won't see me advocating and doing is saying that on occasion, sure, go ahead. Yeah. On the occasion, have that soda. No, because your offspring are going to come out less intelligent as a result of it. In addition to that, they're going to potentially develop cancer, ulcers, and all hosts of health problems, which, yeah, good for my business, but not good for you. So what I'm here to do is just to remind you of how simple it is, guys. I'm just here to remind you of how simple it truthfully is. Keep it simple, stupid is an acronym for don't overcomplicate it. If it comes from a laboratory, once again, if it comes from anything but Mother Nature, my overall general advice is get off of it. But I want to read to you again from this article. And again, it's from the Epoch Times, as I stated earlier. And it kind of backs a live that I did weeks ago, again, where it was shown that in that particular study, it was shown that, Splenda and all of that stuff, those fake sugars, do in fact lead to ulcers and cancers, etc. A whole host of really horrible, horrible diseases are far worse than if you were to just consume natural sugar and not buy into the whole lie that real sugar is the enemy. It's about when and how you consume it, or your primal pattern, and how to pick foods and combine them in a way that is conducive to maintaining your health. So again, it finds that aspartame led to inherited cognitive deficits. A new study finds that male mice that consume the equivalent of 2 to 4 sodas had offspring with memory and learning problems. This is what you're passing on. A new study of researchers at the Florida State University suggests that one artificial sweetener may result in heritable complications when consumed. That study, published in Scientific Reports, shows that male mice that consumed aspartame yielded offspring with memory and learning problems, indicating that the ingestion of zero-calorie sweeteners may alter their sperm's genetic code. Loads of things out here right now that are currently, for lack of a better term, altering your genetic code. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? That is kind of one of the major things in the agenda that's going on today at play, which is, again, to disempower you, to ensure that you are heavily reliant on your government officials, which can never be bought, by the way, because lobbying does not make a government corrupt. There's a reason why I'm leaving that silence there. I hope you heard the sarcasm in my voice, okay? So rather than you being overly reliant on the medical industrial complex or your GP or your government, take accountability, be aware, smarten up, make better choices right now, because you are altering your genetic code. And the same way that you can make yourself sicker, you can make yourself healthier. I just said it to you moments ago that Paul Chek had stated recently in one of the courses that I'm taking at the Czech Academy that within 4 generations, if you were predisposed to something genetically, right, that you can actually undo that within 4 generations simply by making better choices, changing and practicing your behaviors, changing your behaviors, improving them, and practicing what's known as lifestyle medicine, reducing your toxic load, which means reducing fake foods that come into the body. Because how do you expect the body to process that? The study that's funded by big whoever, insert pharma, food, tech, whomever, that's telling you that you're going to be fine if you consume these things because their study proves as such, are businesses that exist for only one purpose: to make a profit, to remain in business and profitable, make their shareholders wealthy and wealthier. So, of course, their data has to back that up. But what do I have to gain by coming here and going against the so called narrative and empowering you to remember what looks like, how your ancestors ate, who didn't suffer from this obese, they didn't suffer from this epidemic of obesity, which, by the way, in America, currently where we're standing at today in 2023, is that 70% of the population overweight. So clearly, the advice and the that have been perpetuated, that has been regurgitated, consuming low carb, or low and low fat and low sugar, it's not working. This is the sickest part on the planet. I feel like I'm saying this every single time alive or to my clients, but I just don't have any other way of expressing it to you. Do you see? Is pudding? Because we've been living this way for how long? Right? How long have we been living this way? And we've been seeing this trend of obesity, diabetes rising, cancers rising. So what is mental health rising? You still want to refer to these quote unquote and put all of their power into them, but they're on behalf of other corporations and organizations that have some to lose here. And that the thing that they have to lose is wealth and power. That's what they have to lose. As I'm here trying to empower you so that you get off of that teat, get off of that government teat, off of the medical industrial complex teat, which are there and necessary for a time and a place. But beyond that, you need to make better decisions. You need to wake up. If you're an adult and you're still consuming sodas, I'm telling you as a health, there's zero room for that. Zero. I repeat, zero room. You are not a child, and I'm not going to speak to you as though you are a child, because already everything around us is designed to dumb us down. And that's what we're going to be passing on to our offspring, yeah? If we don't start to wake up and make some major changes in our lives, restore our well-being so that we pass that kind of evolution on to our offspring. So, how aspartame affects male mice. Back to the study. To test the heritable neurological effects, scientists first divided male adult mice into 3 groups. A control group given plain water, a group given water with an aspartame concentration of 0.015%, which is the mouse equivalent of a human drinking 2 8-ounce cans of diet soda. So basically, in mice terms, it would be the equivalent of an adult consuming 2 soda cans. I cringe at just that thought, by the way. It literally gives me chills. And a group that ingested water with an aspartame concentration of 0.03, which is double, right? Because we went from 0.015% of aspartame concentration to 0.03%. So that would be the equivalent of 4 sodas. 4 sodas, and this is what you're doing to your sperm and to your offspring. Pay attention and remember who funded this study. No one has to gain from this, but the studies that go against this narrative that aspartame is killing you, giving you ulcers, giving you cancers, and is also making your offspring less intelligent, follow the money. Wake up, smarten up, show up, and clean up. It's about time. Both aspartame water drinks represent amounts that were a fraction of what the US Food and Drug Administration considers safe for people. That was a fraction of what the FDA, which has a spotless record, by the way, never gets it wrong and doesn't accept payouts and royalties from Big Pharma. Therefore, you can truly trust in what they're saying. That pause is so that you can hear the sarcasm. Pay attention. The CDC, the FDA, the who funds these people, these organizations? Where do they get their funding from for their research, for their recommendations? What profits do they get to share in? And then stop acting like you don't see that there's a conflict of interest. Again, speaking to you as adults, not as children, because it's that dumbing down that's not benefiting us. It's kind of helped us get into this situation that we're in now. And the situation is in need of some serious course correction. So, again, both aspartame drinks were representative of amounts that were a fraction of what the US Food and Drug Administration considers safe for people, making up just 7%, 7 to 15% of the agency's maximum recommended intake. The fact that recommended at all, should tell you that you should be done. Be completely done with the FDA, 100%. And this is that you should be done with CNN and Fox, but I digress. All groups respective drinks daily over tested on spatial working memory, special learning ability, and learned helplessness at 4, 8, and 12-week intervals using a Y maze, and at 14 weeks they were tested using a Barnes maze. A Y maze is a behavioral test that measures rodents' willingness to explore new environments. A Barnes maze is a behavioral task used in neuroscience research to assess spatial learning and memory, usually in rodents. The maze is designed to determine how swiftly mice or rats can find a safe exit from a maze of about 40 different options. Results from the Barnes maze test shows that aspartame-free group found the safe exit more quickly than both the mice groups ingesting aspartame. Who benefits when the whole population is dumbed down? Who benefits? I can name a couple of organizations. Big government. By the way, did you know that the word government is a Greek word? Govern is obviously to lead, to guide, to also indoctrinate. And ment is the Greek word for mind. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I didn't get that correctly and I missed something, please do correct me. But so it's leading or indoctrinating the mind, right? So we know that big government could definitely benefit from you and your offspring being dumbed down. Maybe big pharma, perhaps big food, big tech. But why would they want to do that? They're all working on our behalf, and they're not here to put profits above people. Big pregnant pause once more so that you could hear what I'm saying. All right, so the effects of aspartame on the next generation. All male mice were then bred with female mice not given aspartame. The experiment showed that the low dose still resulted in offspring with a poor performance on the Y maze test, revealing learning and memory deficits that were heritable via the paternal line from fathers to their children. Co-author Pradeep Bede, the Jim and Betty Ann Rogers Eminent Scholar Chair of Development Neuroscience in the Department of Biomedical Sciences, told the Epoch Times. However, the ripple effect stopped there. Learning and memory deficits weren't passed down to the male mice's second generation of offspring. Why does this happen? The proposed mechanism is complex, but Mr. Bide told the Epoch Times his theory. The breakdown products of aspartame are neuroactive. They cross the blood-brain barrier and enter the nervous system. Is this what you want? You must have boundaries in the body, separating the gut, separating the brain. These are very important boundaries that take place in the body. And when you inject or consume foods and or inoculations and other things, fun things out there, magic potions we'll call them, that cross these barriers, it affects you not just on a physical plane, because there's no separation between your physical body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, the mental body. So to give you a quick example, someone that has a leaky gut is also likely to experience having challenges around being assertive in life and having boundaries, firm, boundaries in place, because when they're happening in the body, it oftentimes, and not to, I wasn't looking for this pun, but it just appeared. You also then tend to leak in your emotions, in your mental state, meaning that your boundaries are not as firm. You say yes to things that you don't really want to be participating in. You might go along with friends that, no longer are serving you in terms of that friend group anymore. So your boundaries, when they're being erodically, also then get eroded on a spiritual plane, on an emotional plane, on a mental plane, right? So that could look like you're not feeling over whomever your creator is or whomever you pray to, right? So a lack of boundaries in the body that's been compromised creates a lack of boundaries in other aspects of our lives, because we're constantly mirroring each other. And so you're always getting a report card for how well you're doing on all of those planes. And if you're not trying to silence that communication that's coming from all of the various planes, right? If you're not trying to silence all of those communications coming from the mental body, the physical body, the spiritual body, the emotional body, the mental body, if you're not trying to silence them and you're paying attention, it'll give you an indication as to what area in your life you'll need to make some tweaks, or also practice what is known as lifestyle medicine. So, lack of boundaries in the body, things like aspartame, which cross that blood brain barrier, will lead to lack of boundaries in your spiritual life and everything else. Think I'm exaggerating? Well, then you just need to understand that you're more than just a physical being. You need to understand that you are a soul having a human experience, but that this time and in this body doesn't reflect your entirety. You are energy, therefore you are not created nor destroyed. You just are. And you are in this body for a period of time to experience something very specific known as the human experience. And the beauty in that is that you get to sort of, like a menu, pick, okay, this is what I want to experience: a soul connection, romantic love, financial gain, hardship, all sorts of things. You can actually choose your experiences, right? But you have to be alert and aware so that you can be an active participant in that. So, returning to this article again, as to how consuming aspartame and other non real sugars, but fake sweeteners, also known as fake foods, then lead to your offspring, then get passed down to your offspring, and how that has actually, unfortunately, created cognitive deficits to your offspring just by virtue of you consuming aspartame. You're not just making a decision for yourself in the now, you're also making a decision for the generations that come after you. Pay close attention. Everything has a cause and effect. Again, that butterfly effect that I referenced earlier, everything has a cause and effect. That's plain universal law. That's not even up for a debate, right? But what is up is why we would be consuming things from a laboratory that come from companies that are seeking to make a profit and could care less about your overall well-being. I digress. So I'm going to re-begin at the top of that paragraph. The proposed mechanism is complex, but Mr. Bide told the Epoch Times his theory. The breakdown products of aspartame are neuroactive. They cross the blood-brain barrier and enter the nervous system, he said. At the time, the oxidative stress is the mechanism for aspartame-induced damage to cells, according to Mr. Bide. Lastly, aspartame is also reported to affect the gut microbiome. He suggests that aspartame can induce a myeloid beta sheet formation in lab, which could be another potential mechanism if repeated in the human body. A sheet formation occurs when neurotoxin amyloid, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing this, amyloid beta proteins clump together to form plaques and disrupt cell function in the brain, as happens in Alzheimer's. If you're wanting to create a condition that's similar to Alzheimer's, by all means, continue to consume. What does the FDA say? Those trusted guys. The approved by the FDA for use in 1981, in carbonated drinks in 1983, and in other food products in 1996. Aspartame is one of the most widely consumed artificial sweeteners. Overweight or obese adult children often use the zero-calorie sweetener to help manage weight. And how has that worked out for you all? Yeah? Officially at 17%. Aspartame is not working. No cap. Drugs. They're not good for you. FDA released a statement after reviewing recent studies submitted by the International Agency for Cancer designed to identify possible toxic effects, including studies assessing aspartame's effects on the reproductive and links to cancer and metabolism. The FDA concluded that cause for concern, reiterating the safety of its use, just like x-rays and legs. All right, then. Aspartame is one of the most studied food additives in the human food supply, the agency states. Food additives. It should stop right at food additive. It's not a food. If you have to add that it's an additive, what's that? Shane Gray, aspartame. I feel like it has an effect on the brain, but as far as weight loss, I lost 40 pounds while drinking 16 cans of Diet Coke. Well, this study, others have proven also they're linked to cancer. So congratulations on the 40-pound weight loss, for starters. We want to acknowledge that, and I receive it. At what? This is not what you have is really what this whole system is built on, which take this solution, and then the side effects could be far worse, right? At the end of every advert that we are to watch, well, I shouldn't say for telly, but in North America, it's one of the few countries that bombarded with medical adverts. Oh yes, look that up. Most other countries and continents don't have this issue where we are bombarded with take this and take that. But point being, right, apart from that mental torture of all of these ads that are coming at us by Big Pharma trying to sell us their drug, the last 15, 20 seconds of their adverts have to cover the negative side effects. Might help to pacify the symptoms of, let's say, eczema and psoriasis, but it could also lead to heart disease, cancer, blindness, death, depression, thoughts. And I'm not even this is funny, right? I'm being funny because to me it's laughable, but it's also to show you the ridiculousness of it. Right? So it's like, we'll take this at the cost of what can also come with that. Was it worth it? Or could you have just addressed your psoriasis and your eczema by filling the gut, not feeding yeast, yada, 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 right? Because there are ways to do that. Because also, by the way, psoriasis and eczema, because it's an autoimmune disorder, didn't even exist 200 years ago. Didn't even exist. I've got to tell you, it does affect my mind. I notice a difference now that I'm not drinking it. Of course, it's going to affect your mind because it's a drug, 100%. Like a pharmaceutical drug, it's a drug. And that's why it's not even considered a real food, right? It is actually considered, if I'm not mistaken, on the World Health Organization, like a B2, if I've got the labeling correct. It's not a food, right? So you think you're cutting the queue, by like, I'm gonna drink this in order to lose weight, but at what cost? So your offspring are being impacted by that. You could potentially develop cancer, ulcers, and a whole host of other things. And was it worth it? Or could you have just made better lifestyle choices, such as consuming real sugar in moderation, right? Exercising or getting an adequate movement, going to bed on time, staying hydrated, eating real food. So there are other ways of losing weight. I personally also, by the way, recently lost a ton of weight. Some of you may have noticed, about 25 pounds. And I did that by going on a detox where I didn't consume any food for 40 days. Now, that's not right for everyone, but that's also another way to lose weight, is to abstain. And fasting has vast benefits, and it doesn't lead to cancer. It doesn't lead to autoimmune disorders. It oftentimes reverses them. So you have options. And the most natural options, believe you me, as someone who's in alignment and brand partnership with Mother Nature, That's your way forward, right? So anyways, going back to how aspartame is dumbing down our offspring. So aspartame is one of the most studied food additives in the human food supply, the agency stated, that agency being the FDA, ever so trustworthy. FDA scientists do not have safety concerns when aspartame is used under the approved conditions. The agency mentioned that the sweetener is approved in many countries and approved by Health Canada and European Food Safety Authority. All the countries that are having massive health issues, by the way, but I digress. Yet, according to Mr. Biden, no studies have assessed the cognitive effects of aspartame on future generations. He urged the FDA to take a closer multi-generational perspective on the aspartame. Wow. Multi-generational perspective. Perhaps we could all adopt some of that, because then we would maybe, possibly, could potentially make different choices. The FDA didn't respond to a request for comment. To the study, both male and female mice born from aspartame paternal lineages showed deficits in spatial learning compared to their counterparts in the plain drinking water paternal lineage. So, is it worth it for you? Are you going to roll the dice, as they say? Is it worth it for you? Do you think that a study like this could be funded by people with nefarious intentions, who could be putting profit over person or people? Apply some of that common sense. I know you have it in you. Again, according to the both male and female mice born from aspartame paternal lineages showed deficits in spatial learning compared to their counterparts in the drinking water paternal lineage. You prepared, again, to take that chance that you could be passing on defective genes to your offspring, learning deficits, spatial deficits, by virtue of you choosing to consume a non-food also known as aspartame. But many unknowns still linger. It's difficult to extrapolate how these findings translate to humans, and further research is needed. Funny how they don't ever say that about like things like broccoli and cauliflower and kale. We don't know what the long-term repercussions will be multi-generationally, how that might negatively impact people. Why are these conversations not taking place? Because when it comes from nature, it aligns with you. It is natural, and therefore, do you see how 1 + 1 = 2? It just makes sense. Now, let's wrap this up, because I wasn't trying to keep you all on here very long, because I have another live that I plan to do. So Mr. Bai told the Epoch Times that research in mouse models, when extrapolated to humans and considering cautions associated with such extrapolation, suggests that consuming 2 to 4 8 ounces of cans of aspartame containing drinks daily for a few months could produce spatial working memory deficits, and if the daily consumption continues, further could produce learning and memory deficits. Generations. Boom. That's the end of the article. So you choose. You choose if it's worth it for you to take that risk of passing that on to your offspring. If you're going to choose to consume non-foods, they're probably going to have some negative side effects. And that can be and should be expected, because, again, life supports life. And aspartame is not life. It doesn't come from life. It comes from a laboratory. On that note, I'm signing off. Hope you've enjoyed this. And if you have, you know to like, share, and subscribe. If you're on the gram, like it and share it. If you're on the YouTube, don't forget to subscribe it.